Hello everyone, my name is Norjan Arpulwa and today I will be talking about to you chapter 4, which is components of special and inclusive education. I will be going to talk about you the first three of them, the first three components of special and inclusive education, because the rest will be going to report by my partner Johaira Miberagir. So without further ado, let's get started. In this video, we will know if children who have additional needs or who may be at risk for developmental disabilities will be going to refer to special education, or will going to have the need of the special education services, or will have just given some alternatives but not really the SPED. The first component is child find through a pre-referral process. As to the word itself, child find, in this stage we will be going to locate or find children who have additional needs and who may be at risk for developmental disabilities. This is also where referral for evaluation and special services begins. In usual setting, oftentimes the first to notice such developmental delays in children are school guidance counselors, early childhood teachers, primary school teachers, and community-based daycare workers. But in other instances, the parents themselves notice the delays and seek consultation with pediatricians and other specialists. Under the first component of special and inclusive education, we have A. Pre-referral process and B. Pre-referral strategies. When we identify that a child has significant difficulties in relation to expected competencies and developmental milestones, that does not mean that we are going to send them automatically to special education, but instead, the child should undergo first the so-called pre-referral process. But what do we mean by pre-referral process? It actually seeks to identify, develop, and implement alternative education strategies for students who have recognized problems in the classroom before the student is referred to SPED. I will highlight that before the student is referred to SPED. So in pre-referral process, we have actually the so-called team of professionals known as a pre-referral team, which is comprised of special education teachers, counselors, administrators, and psychologists who collaborate to determine reasons for the observed challenges. So they collaborate to find ways to meet the needs of children with developmental delays. And that is according to Halahan and his co-researchers in 2014. Taylor in 2009 provided an assessment model that begins with the pre-referral process, and there are actually two ways in identifying children with developmental delays and difficulties, and that is through number 1, observations, and number 2, use of norm and criterion reference tests. So they are not immediately referred for special education testing, but are first provided with necessary academic and behavioral support needed to address noted challenges. Taylor, in his assessment model, also explained that the initial step is to determine teaching areas where a learner will be benefit from additional support through a variety of means. So it is really a matter of finding ways, finding means, and finding strategies to help the child get through with notable additional needs before referring him or her to SPED. The other way is community-based screening. In this way, child development and social workers use developmental screening tools such as the Early Childhood Care and Development or ECCD checklist that covers items expected for a child's typical development. Once a program of pre-referral intervention has been designed, implementation and evaluation follow to determine how effective it is in addressing the needs of the child. Proceeding to letter B, pre-referral strategies. Pre-referral strategies are designed to provide immediate instruction and or behavior management support to a child. So this is what I said to you a while ago, using different ways, using different strategies and techniques. So we could lessen the number of cases referred for special education and makes efficient use of time and financial resources that could have been spent for special education assessment, which is also an idea of Hayward in 2013. He said that because folks, to enroll a child in a special education is such a long time process and it's very expensive, especially nowadays. And this will also lessen the tendency of over-referrals to special education and wasting time, as children wait to be tested rather than to receive the instructional and behavioral support they need. This is also one way of considering that not all parents or families can really afford to send their special children to SPED schools. So if this could be an option, then I will probably believe that parents will choose this no matter what, because this speaks practicality at all costs. Examples of pre-referral strategies are observation of child's behavior, including interactions with parents, teachers, and peers, interview of parents and teachers to gather more information about the child, review of school records, and analysis of child's academic output through error analysis, portfolio assessment, and criterion reference and curriculum-based assessment. According to McLaughlin and Lewis in 2009, there can be corresponding changes that can be made depending on the information gathered to manage the needs, such as modification of the classroom environment, for example, seating arrangement, group change, and teachers' proximity in class, instructional support, and relevant classroom and behavior management. This picture shows the pre-referral process and the pre-referral strategies. In the left side, the pre-referral process, and on the right side, the pre-referral strategies. So first, we have pre-referral process. Number one, learner identification. So there's a lot of way to identify learner with additional needs. So in many cases, especially in a classroom setting, children give signs whenever they have difficulty in learning, and of course a teacher will recognize that. In another way, difficulty will also be noticed by simply observing the child on the way he learned, and also by checking his records and doing classroom observation as a whole. And then number two, we have determination of teaching areas and strategies. So after identifying a child with additional needs, you are now going to determine which teaching areas you're going to fix, for example, and decide what are the strategies that you're going to use in addressing the need of the learner. And of course, that will be possible with the help of pre-referral team. So you will decide if you're going to use small group instruction or direct instruction depending on the needs of the child. And now you are going to have the implementation of teaching programs. So this could be what you have planned with the pre-referral team to be implemented in the classroom. Additional in-class or after-school support, meaning you are going to provide additional education or practice for that child in order to support him or her. And then modification of classroom environment, you can also fix your classroom, because sometimes the way the child learn is depending on his environment, if it is conducive or not. And then modification of instruction to address potential needs. So you're also going to adjust in terms of the instruction that you're going to give to the class. And then number 4, evaluation of teaching program. After you implemented the teaching program, you're now going to evaluate it if it is effective or not. That will determine if the child will change or will not. If the child changes, for example, meaning it's effective, and if the child don't, meaning it's not.